counsel Robert Hur will testify for the first time before Congress after his damning report on President Biden's handling of classified documents sparked major questions about the president's mental fitness.
Back in February, Hur wrote in his report, quote, "We have also considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview of him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. He did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting on the first day of the interview when his term ended. He did not remember even within several years when his son Beau died." Congressman Andy Biggs sits on the House Judiciary Committee and will question her today. Matt Whitaker is a former acting attorney general under former President Trump, and they both join us now.
Yeah, good morning to you both. Congressman, I'm sure that when you read that from Robert Hur's report, you said, I got some follow-up questions, and today's the day that you're going to be able to ask them. So can you give us a preview on what you are going to ask, and how do you think this thing's going to go?
Well, that's a great question. So here's where I go. A couple things. We're going to focus on Joe Biden's mental capacity, if he is so bad off that you can't prosecute him, should he be running the greatest nation in history of the world? And can he do it, carefully with probity, et cetera? Second thing is, we're going to explore all the cavalier ways that Joe Biden left classified documents all over the place. Look, he left code words at a party that he was at up in New York. I mean, so we're going to explore that. And then we're going to get to the third thing that I think is important is, was this willful and intentional? And I think we're going to find that it was willful and intentional. When I say that, was he telling people about this classified information? And the actual reality is he was. And he knew it was classified, and he knew he didn't have authority. He was trained in it for 50 years, good grief, and he's out there passing classified information around. And that's clear violations of the law.
Matt, what could Hur say today that could help Trump defend himself in the Jack Smith charge trial, basically on these same allegations? You hear the mainstream media try to say these allegations are completely different. In reality, they're the same. So what could Hur say today to help Trump's defense?
Yeah, Todd, I think what Rob Hur is going to really try to do is stay within the navigational beacons of his 350-page report. But I think Congress needs to drill down on this important issue, and that is the distinction between those two cases. Because Rob Hur suggests that somehow because President Biden cooperated, that somehow is different from President Trump's case. But actually, if you think about it, the cooperation is illusory because Biden in 2017 knew he had this classified information in his house, in his basement. He mentioned it to his ghostwriter of his book. And I think that tells you that these cases aren't as different as Rob Hur wants to suggest. And so it's going to be very interesting if Congress can tease out if there is any difference, or if they're just treating Joe Biden different in the special counsel situation.
Yeah, Congressman, one of the big things that took place after this report came out was President Biden saying he did not forget when his son Beau Biden died, and he was just shocked that Robert Hur would bring that up. And then it turns out that Robert Hur didn't bring it up. It was the president who brought up his son's death. Can we expect an official clarification on that today, and how will that play out?
Yes, he's going to be asked about that, but he's also going to be asked about what Joe Biden forgot when he was telling the ghostwriter. So it wasn't just in Robert Hur's investigation in those interviews. Joe Biden forgot when he was vice president and other pertinent information of his life when he was describing it to the ghostwriter, and the ghostwriter revealed that in his interviews with Mr. Hur. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot of testimony about his mental capacity today, I believe.
Also today, the House will hear from U.S. intel chiefs about worldwide threats to our national security. And yesterday, there was an exchange between FBI Director Christopher Wray and Marco Rubio that's extremely concerning. Watch.
We are seeing a wide array of very dangerous threats that emanate from the border. There is a particular network that has where some of the overseas facilitators of the smuggling network have ISIS ties that we're very concerned about.
There is a network we're concerned about that has facilitators involved in it that have ties to ISIS and other terrorist organizations.
Correct.
26 people killed 3,000 Americans on 9/11. I worry that among the people that are coming across the border that are evading law enforcement, that there are some people among those that mean to do us harm. Do you share that concern?
I do.
I mean, Matt, hearings are nice and all, but what concrete steps must this administration take to prevent the next 9/11 after, quite frankly, Matt, they allowed this to fester within the last 3 years by being so lax on the border?
Yeah, they're so far behind with 1.8 million gotaways, unknown who they are, why they're here, where they are at. I think that is going to be a real challenge for the FBI. And you heard Chris Wray not only say that this is a problem, but we don't have the resources and we need more resources to actually do the work to mitigate these risks. I mean, this is a massive and concerning challenge, and I didn't hear any solutions from the intel community. Obviously, Mayorkas has had his own problems in trying to deal with this crisis at the border, but we are in a significant security situation, and we should expect attempts to harm Americans on our own soil because of the southern border.
Yeah, it feels like it's only a matter of time until we pay a price in a big way. Congressman Biggs, Matt Whitaker, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.